Gary Smalley says the most difficult years of marriage are those following the wedding. He also says that you need to read this book. For the sake of your own marriage and for the sake of the next generation, 6 Secrets to a Lasting Love is one of many books by Dr. Gary and Barb Rosberg. The couple from Iowa has conducted conferences on marriage and family relationships all over the U.S. for over 20 years. And guess what? They're about to launch a Canadian tour. The Rosbergs have personally enjoyed the great marriage experience for over 30 years. They've produced 2 beautiful children who've blessed them with 5 grandchildren, and they have blessed me with more insights on the marriage adventure than I know what to do with in a few minutes with you right now. But I want to let these coaches loose for every minute that we have. Welcome, folks.
Moira, thank you so very much.
And Gary Smalley, I think, hit the nail on the head. You really are concerned about the next generation.
Yeah, we are. Both of our daughters are in biblical marriages, and we're honored by that. But when we held our first grandson, Mason, 6 years ago, it's as if all bets are off, because the culture on our watch, and I've done 25,000 hours of marriage therapy, and so much of it is on my watch. Barb and I have been writing and speaking and doing a live radio show, but the culture of marriage has slid so quickly that what is it going to be in 20, 25, 30 years when Mason is prepared for marriage? And so we're not only committed to it for our marriage and for the marriage of our children, but it's that next generation that if it doesn't change, if God doesn't reveal himself and the couples and churches don't capture vision for how to have a great marriage, then we think that not only the family is in trouble, but we believe that the culture is in trouble.
Good words. And I shouldn't rejoice in this because it's not a praise item, but it's meaningful that you as a couple slid into what you call marital entropy. We've heard of the famous movie, The 7-Year Itch. Could we call it the 7-year convict for you, Gary?
Yeah, that's a good word. Well, I was finishing my doctorate in counseling, and Barb was essentially single parenting. And we were just isolated. We were not connecting. And during those years, it was very, very difficult.
It was. Gary was working full-time, going to graduate school full-time, and I don't know when, but he was teaching in the graduate school program as well. So there were days he would leave probably around 6:30 in the morning, and we wouldn't see him till 11 o'clock at night. Our girls were, preschool and also a baby. And it was during that time that, I loved my husband. I was his greatest cheerleader and advocate. I was for this program. I wanted to see this purpose, being called out of his life. But the reality is this. It was hard. We were distancing. And so the more I was cheerleading, I thought, for our marriage, the more nagging it came across from my husband. So I'd say, Gary, we need time alone. We need to connect as a couple. But instead, the more passionate I got, I pushed him away, not realizing that. So one day I was vacuuming the house, and I thought, Lord, I was praying, I was crying, I was taking my needs to him. But I said, why is it I am the only one advocating for this marriage? Why does it have to be my idea? Now, here's the problem. 1 minute we're right with God, we're going to him. How is it within seconds my heart hardened? When I turned off that vacuum, I turned off my heart. I thought, fine, I'm not going to try anymore. Now, at the end of the day, Gary got a good wife, a loving wife. But in my heart of hearts, and women know women, if you'd moved closely to me during that time, you would have known I was shutting off my husband and I was shutting down. No matter how much I had tried up until that point to get through to my husband, but this is the point, I stopped. This is a dangerous place for a woman. When a woman quits talking, she quits trying, and she can begin to withdraw and walk away without even realizing it.
Yeah, and yet we as men think when she stops talking, we're out of it. I mean, we feel relieved, but that really isn't the case. And Barb and I had pretty much stopped talking. But Sarah, our little 5-year-old, who now has 3 children, she's 30, but she drew a picture of our family and brought it to me. And I said, well, honey, this is great. I mean, show me the picture. And there was a little girl's drawing on a piece of typing paper, and there was Mom and Sarah and Missy. And across the top it had 3 words. It said, our family best. And I said,
our family
best.
Best.
Yeah. And I put it up on the fridge, And I said, I'll look at this every night when I get home late at night after helping all those people. I mean, think of the irony of this, Moira. I mean, I'm trained to be a Christian counselor, and yet my own family is falling apart.
That's why you were going to school.
That's
to
why I was
learn
going to
how to
school.
help other
Yeah,
people's
how to-
marriages and
exactly.
families.
And so I hung it up, and I went back to studying, and I looked at it, and somebody was missing from the picture.
Let me guess.
Yeah, and I went to the window, and I said, Sarah, come back in and show Daddy your picture. And I remember she said, don't you like my picture? And I said, well, sure, sweetheart, I like your picture, but I said, there's Mom, there's Missy. Where's your dad? And she said, you're at the library studying. And it was at that moment, it was a defining moment. And I realized at that point that there was a cost to a lack of balance between the marketplace or school and a family. And yet I was too much of a coward to do anything, so I didn't. I shut down, I isolated. I think I probably blame Barb in some, weird way. And 8 weeks later, after graduating and starting my Christian counseling practice, I went up to the bedroom where Barb was asleep, and I stood over her, and it was pitch black in there. I thought she was asleep. And I said, are you awake? And she said, yes. I remember going, rats, because I was just rehearsing. See, that's what guys do. And I said, Barb, have you seen the picture? She said, yes. I said, why didn't you say anything? And I remember you said, because the picture broke your heart. And then I said, can I come home to my family? I said, I just want to come home. And Barb is a truth teller. And I remember, sweetheart, you just said, Gary, I love you, and the girls love you, but nobody knows you. Nobody. And I said, well, I'm going to come home. I am going to come home. And I went downstairs, and I grabbed my Bible, and I laid flat out on that carpet. And I prayed out to Holy God to give me another chance. Just give me another chance. And it wasn't the commission of overt sin. I mean, there wasn't adultery. There wasn't any of the stuff that many people walk away from marriages. But
It's
it
disconnect.
Was, yeah, disconnect is exactly. And when you disconnect, a relationship just drifts. And there are so many within the church that are drifting. And so I spent the next 2 years restoring our family.
It took 2 years.
2 years, yeah. And so when people come to me in counseling, which they have for almost 30 years, and say, Gary, can we fix this in 3 appointments? Or, I want it to be better. I really believe God allowed us to go through that pain. And 2 years later, Misty came to us, and she said, Daddy, I've got a present for you. And I said, well, sweetheart, what is it? She said, it's a picture of our family. I said, I don't do pictures of our family. Give me a lobotomy or something. And she gave me a picture, and I'm in the middle of the picture. And so it's within that picture that now hangs on my wall, where I've counseled thousands of families. And there are times when a good guy, just like a guy watching 100 Huntley Street, or a gal comes into that office and says, there's no hope, or you don't understand what we've been through. And it's as if the Holy Spirit grabs my cheeks, and I look at that lousy pencil drawing and remind people of God's faithfulness. And that's what we're passionate about, Moira. We are passionate about coming alongside couples and churches, and in this case, 13 cities all across Canada, to give vision to recapture biblical marriage and to unpack the 6 secrets to a lasting love and give people hope, whether they're remarried, young marrieds, old marrieds, in painful marriages, or at the top of their game. And to give people a vision and a passion to take back marriage for the cause of Christ.